Good morning, Britain. I'm here live in Downing Street, where I will be interviewing the Prime Minister in an hour's time. Of course, there are lots of domestic issues, but one topic I will be covering, of course, the war in Ukraine. The country's First Lady, Olena Zelenska, has spoken exclusively to Good Morning Britain. It's the first time she's spoken to a UK broadcaster since the war started. She told us that every Ukrainian knows the UK is a reliable ally and that the British were among the first to show support for Ukraine, becoming an example for other countries. But she said the government's Homes for Ukraine scheme needs improvement. It remains complicated and long. And she revealed she has not seen her husband since the war started. When Russia invaded early in the morning on the 24th of February, President Zelensky kissed her and their two children goodbye and has lived at work ever since. Well, I'm joined now by Vadym Prystaiko, who is Ukraine's ambassador to the UK. Very good morning to you, Ambassador. For us, we're watching this happen. For you, you're living it. You have had family, obviously, in Ukraine. This is your homeland. What impact is it having on you personally?
Whatever we're going through here, with my family here, with my colleagues at the embassy, or many thousands of Ukrainians who came here, is totally different from what my compatriots are experiencing right now. Being bombed, being killed, being raped. That's all of it. That's what we are now nations living through. And in our history, we've been through many, many different tragedies and famines and wars. And yet another war on our hands. And we just hope that this will be the last one. After this, we'll be able to, we'll be allowed to develop ourselves as a society, as just normal human beings.
You say after this one. Have you got an end in sight currently?
You know, it's becoming more and more optimistic among Ukrainians. I know this seems unbelievable, but don't forget that 2 months ago, nobody even believed that we'll be able to put up a real fight, which we did. And this, what Russians believe to do it in 3 days. You know, we have a Ukraine joke that Ukrainians are starting each and every day, saying that today is 63rd day of 3 days invasion. So that's how we see it in some dark humor. People are actually fighting, and we believe that the victory is here. We can achieve it with the assistance of our friends and partners. Can be done.
How? I mean, Russia has made gains. We've seen devastating scenes in Bucha, in Mariupol.
That's true. And especially around the Kiev, when they tried, hard to get in the first days. But we managed to throw them away from Kiev all the way to the east, which was occupied for many, many years, 8 years. People start to forget that it's not just started 2 months ago. The war was in Ukraine for too long, for almost 8 years. And we have our people, they are battle-hardened. The population knows what they're doing. They're behind the president. And the president himself is leading the whole nation. So we believe that when we start receiving this equipment, which we already have, some of the heavy ones, and the sanctions will be working as well. So this is a way of us how to finish up with this war.
What does success look like to you? Is it accepting what Russia has already done, or is it total withdrawal?
We passed this point already when we had a chance to negotiate with them and come to some neutral points. Neutrality itself as a political sort of factor was considered, and many other options. Now this negotiation stalled for obvious reasons. After the atrocities in Bucha, which you mentioned, many Ukrainians can't even imagine how can we sit at the table of negotiations with these people. The reasonable politicians will remind us that actually we have to sit at the table because all the wars are ended up in sort of negotiations. But frankly speaking, many Ukrainians believe that we have to defeat them physically on the fields of war. That's the way we can finish it up. Maybe it's even better for Russians. Maybe they will be able to see that this regime is bringing them down with them, going down and bringing the whole Russia with them.
So what do you expect then to happen? That Ukraine will force Russia out of all regions?
At this moment, very difficult to foresee what can be or how it can be won. But what we believe that we can stop them where they are right now. They're mostly in east of Ukraine and south of Ukraine. Yes, they have some gains, military gains, especially, the south of Ukraine when they managed to have this canal. That's what they had to have in the first day. They're still in water for their Crimea right now as we speak. So this was one of the objectives, and they achieved this. And they're pushing from the east of Ukraine, but our troops are there. This is most reliable forces we have, and they're fighting really hard. We believe that something can be done militarily. We would love to push them all away from our territory, wipe out from our lands.
How can the UK help?
You're already helping. Everything you're doing right now on the wave after wave of sanctions, the wave after wave of military equipment, which we need, it is growing as we speak, because many nations wouldn't believe that they have to invest in Ukraine. Look at Germany, for example. They were sending a couple of hundreds of helmets. Now they're almost there, almost as the rest of the world, promising to send some heavy equipment. And the United States is stepping up in the game.
The British people have donated a lot in aid. They have also opened their arms to Ukrainian refugees. However, the UK has not offered visa-free travel, and there are huge delays in people fleeing the war and trying to get over here. Have you taken that up with the Home Office?
You're right. You hit the focal points of the whole problem. And Ukrainians are coming here, and they, in most of the cases, been waiting in European towns next to you, like in Calais, not because they, the specific hardship has done to stop them. No, because we enjoyed the visa-free regime with the rest of European Union. And unfortunately, we never had it with Great Britain. We offered many years ago the Brits, to visa-free regime to come to Ukraine, expecting some reciprocity. It didn't happen by that time. But you're right, I was already restarted these negotiations with the Home Secretary, reminding her that Brits were enjoying this with Ukraine for many decades already. And now this time, yes, maybe for temporary, just to relieve people from this, unnecessarily long bureaucratic and difficult bureaucratic procedures.
Do you understand why there are so many delays with visas, and why in some cases some members of a family, for instance, the parents are getting visas, but there's a delay with the children's visas?
We have so many different stories, and some of the stories are very successful, and I'll be pleased to tell them there are difficult stories of how people could not have it, or the families which were matching to, each against another. In some cases it worked perfectly, and we're very happy if the people opened up. They're not just hearts, but homes as well. Some cases it didn't work well. So we are constantly working with the Home Office, trying to rebalance the system, trying to find better solution. But something like temporary relief in visas will help us a lot.
So you have pressed the Home Secretary directly to offer visa-free travel?
Let me use a different word. It wasn't pressing, it was rather negotiating with her. Because I understand, especially at the time of war, you have to be very careful who's coming to your nation. And frankly speaking, we also want to know who our families are coming to, especially when most of them, 99% of them, just women with kids, because men are back home and fighting.
The Prime Minister is going to announce £300 million worth of military aid, further military aid for Ukraine. There will be people asking, will that put Western targets at risk? For instance, in Kyiv. What's your response?
I believe that, that recently one soldier died, the British citizen. We're trying to bring his body back, to bring it to the parents. There are people dying, and especially those ones who are helping us at the front lines. Kyiv itself is quite a safe city right now. It's returning back to normality. We have 5 million people plus living in the country already, or they already have left. But there is the 1 million who already returned. As we told 2 months ago, the Ukrainians would not like to live far from home, and we actually need them to get back to rebuild this nation after the war.
Ambassador, thanks very much indeed for your time this morning. It's good to talk to you.